Hey, welcome to my channel. I don't try to talk as much into politics or get into politics with with this channel itself. I try to avoid it. I've only talked about maybe once and that a few times, but that was related to the fact that George Santos was a representative from my district, and it was one of those I had to get involved at that point because like the way he got in and such. But it's in regards to that aspect that we're starting to see life imitating art instead of the reversal of art imitating life, to the point where like I don't think I meant I don't I never talked about it, of course, but I did tweet about it when he got elected. That I was like, is this a case where like life is actually imitating art? Where like when Donald Trump got elected, I was like, this makes no sense, but it happened. Now, you would say it's like, oh, well, hold on, like whatever it may be, like his policies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, like you know what? Let's be honest. It would have been interesting to see in 2020, had Trump won a second term, how the pandemic would have progressed out. Because let's be honest, during the pandemic, we had people basically, literally, disregarding experts in the field of immunology, infectious disease, doctors, scientists specializing in this field of infectious diseases, and it's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about, and take bleach or whatever it may be. It was like, oh my god, another 4 more years, and I think we would be living in this movie. This movie would be acting out as it is right now. So it's one of those things where, and this is by the way, it's a pretty good movie. It's a really good movie, surprisingly enough. If you haven't seen it, it's basically to a point where like two individuals basically get cryogenically frozen, wake up at a point where basically the country is run by pretty much idiots more than anything else, like people that are not there. And that's more of a case of like how, but anyways, to that aspect, it would have been interesting to see. And like, and this is a case where I was like really surprised how that happened. And then I was like really surprised to the point of like, again, George Santos, when he was elected, imitated art right there. I mean, a con man getting elected to Congress. I mean, granted, maybe a lot of congressmen are con men as well, con men or con women as well too. But honestly, this is one that's where like a guy lied on his background, was able to lie about so many other things, still get elected, and found out, and he was still in Congress for a bit there until the Republican Party's like, no, we have to get rid of you. Again, life imitating art, not the other way around. And it was like really surprising that I'm like, how did this happen? How is this happening? And to the point where like honestly, I would have preferred, if life is gonna imitate art, more specifically the political world is gonna start imitating art, why not just imitate this? Imitate this. At least this is a pretty good one. Or for that matter, yeah, I was gonna say, just, why not that? That works out really well, honestly. I mean, it's a surprising. I don't know. Well, let's be honest. I mean, Obama's Obama's presidency was almost in that nature, and I think it was big. That show, The West Wing, was loosely based on Clinton's presidency. Let's be honest about that. It was loosely based on that. And I mean, Clinton's presidency, Obama's presidency was sort of based on that. But I mean, honestly, like let's focus. And if you're saying, okay, well, the other two were movies. All right, if it's going to be based on a movie, well, you got the American president. I mean, still works in that aspect. It would have been great, like I mean, granted, yeah, the American president was more so based on a romance type of thing with the political backdrop, but what was going on there. At least there was some aspect of it. And then Mr. Smith Goes to Washington would be great to as well too. But honestly, it's more of a case where like I would love to see that happening versus what we're seeing now. Now, someone's going to say about Kamala Harris, if she gets elected, maybe she's going to be represented in one of the other clown movies at that point. I'm not saying anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with her. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with her. I know that's going to be the far right's position, but our opinion, anyways. But honestly, that's not my say. Will only time will tell. I mean, history will dictate. Let's put it this way: will dictate this period of time as well to end her presidency and her legacy. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how this election goes, but it will be interesting to see how other um, movies and shows will be probably dependent on this. I mean, even Obama, I think, actually Obama did say this, and maybe some other presidents as well too. And maybe I don't know who else. I think it was Obama, but someone else also said basically that they would watch this movie, Dave. And I'll be admit this was a really good movie as well too. It's to a point where like yeah, it didn't. It kind of simplified the presidency a little bit, but more so to the point of like like hey, it looks like any person can do it, type of thing is essentially. And that's an impressive part about it. It was like even this like the case is basically the individual, the president of this in the movie itself, the president of the United States was more focused on the people themselves, getting people jobs and such. And I think he was more focused on that than more than anything else. And that's one of the things where I think, like even Obama was like, that was this kind of, I forgot the word, not trash TV type of thing, but more so his guilty pleasure movie in a ways. And that's one of the things where like, like if life's going to imitate art, specifically the political world, let it be those things more than anything else, honestly. And I think we all want to see that. We're like, we want. For me, it doesn't matter who you're looking at, but it's more so to the point where, or who you want to vote for. I mean, but it's more so. I just want the right person to basically lead our country and the people itself that has the best interest, the people's best interest as well as the country's best interest at their heart. That's more so my concern more, and I think that's everyone's concern at this point. It's like what's in the best interest for the country, what's in the best interest for the citizens of the country as well too. That's pretty much what it comes down to, and also immigrants for the country, basically the people of the country. Basically, what makes this country so great is the people itself, and that's why I would love the right person, the person that looks in that best interest for it. And so it's one of those things where I hate to say it, but it's more so to the point where any individual that doesn't have that in their mantra and it's more focused on their legacy of what they did versus the interests of the country and the people, then their legacy is doomed for failure. It's doomed for failure. And I hate to say this, but like, look, Trump, whether it be good or bad, it's your decision. I'm not going to decide. But like, let's be honest. The guy wanted to put his face on Mount Rushmore. This is a guy that wants to pretty much tag everything with his name. He wanted to put his face on Mount Rushmore. You don't put your name on Mount Rushmore until you do something great. Right now, during those 4 years, you did nothing really worthwhile. If anything, the person that should be up there is Obama, at least for like getting us out of that recession. If anything, JFK. I mean, the Cuban Missile Crisis averted war completely. That was a great thing. That was by far the greatest thing out there at this. Well, I mean, Eisenhower for that matter as well too. Eisenhower should probably be up there, to be honest. I mean, like, hey, during the 50s, the U.S. was doing great. Granted, there was segregation and such, so, there was a whole other issue as well in and of itself. But outside of that, like, let's be honest. I mean, like, let's focus on the fact of, like, the country and the people. Let your legacy be built out by others. Let others handle your legacy based on what you've done. Don't try to define it yourself. Because if you want to define it yourself, you're doomed for failure. Go for the best interests of the country and best interests of the people. Everything else will fall into place. And that's where I think it'd be interesting to see a movie or a show for that matter. I'd love to see a movie about that, where where the president's more about the country and the people to the point where, like, let's say 30 years down the line, commemorative stamps or even a Mount Rushmore type of thing, basically whatever it may be, comes out. And if Trump doesn't, I hate to say it, but this is how you got to get to Trump. Basically, you got to make a movie or a TV show just for him to see, or some aspect, so that he's aware of it. But in any case, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts Leave your thoughts in the comments. I do read them all. If you like this video, please like it. Or if you don't like it, you're welcome to dislike it as well too. But I do ask that you subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.